This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the Blood Red podcast. We enter the final week before football returns. It seems strange saying that, but that is where we find ourselves. I'm Guy Clarke, and coming up we've got plenty to get into, including the news that Harry Wilson will stay at Bournemouth for the remainder of the season, as well as some number crunch that's come out of the International Centre for Sports Studies. And finally, we'll talk about how we want Anfield to perhaps jazz things up, or maybe not, when football does indeed return. Joining me to talk about all of that, plenty more besides, is Doyle. Doyle, how are you?
Okay, you?
Yeah, not so bad, thank you. Connor Dunn's also with us. Connor, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Guy. I assume you're still well as of 2 seconds ago?
Yeah, I definitely am. And Caoimhe O'Neill, Caoimhe, how are you keeping?
I'm grand, thanks, Guy.
Happy days. Well, we best get into the news then that has come out today. Doyle, come to you first with it, and that being the news that Harry Wilson, as expected, is going to be playing with Bournemouth until the Premier League season does conclude.
Yeah, it's not a surprise, really. I mean, the initial deal is that Wilson would spend the whole season at Bournemouth, and obviously the break in the season is kind of cast that, but all of the loan deals in question. But for the minute that the Premier League, got around the table, or virtually around the table, and started to decide the finer details of how things were going to pan out for the rest of the season, I think all the loan deals will be pretty much the same. I think we can expect the same with Ryan Brewster at Swansea as well. So no major surprise there.
No, certainly not. He's had quite a productive time, hasn't he, Connor? Down on the south coast, of course, this is the second consecutive season that he spent away from Anfield. Last year he was at Derby, this year at Bournemouth. And looking at the numbers, 7 goals in 19 starts in the Premier League. It's been a decent step up for him.
Yeah, certainly so. I think you can look at both Harry Wilson campaigns over the last few seasons. He's impressed in both the Championship and he's impressed in the Premier League this season. Obviously, it's his first season in the top flight, and he scored 1 less goal than Bournemouth's top goal scorer, Callum Wilson. He's playing, obviously, in a kind of attacking field role. So, yeah, really decent output. I guess we'll probably discuss if he's going to make it at Liverpool, but you've got to say, when Liverpool went down to play Bournemouth, Klopp said himself he was pleased Harry Wilson was in Liverpool. He knows how good he is, and certainly a talent to look out for. And obviously, he's still young at only 23. But yeah, he's had 2 very decent campaigns. But the deal kind of started, didn't it, when he was left out of Liverpool's Charity Shield squad. They had all those substitutes, and Harry Wilson obviously wasn't picked after being used throughout pre-season. So I think that kind of sealed his fate almost to go down and go on loan. But as you say, yeah, he's been impressive, and he'll be integral to Bournemouth going, despite themselves being in the relegation zone. That's nothing really on him. He'll be one of their main hopes to lift them out of that in the final 9 games. So, yeah, an interesting prospect.
Yeah, definitely the case. And Caoimhe, looking at the league table, as we're going to be getting more and more accustomed to once more after the big freeze is over and football is back underway. Of course, as Connor said there, Bournemouth are at the moment 18th in the Premier League table. So I suppose, as much as obviously it's the formality of the loan deal, the original loan agreement being concluded as for the whole season, actually it will serve Harry Wilson far better being at Bournemouth, say, with that pressure of having to try and keep them in the Premier League, as opposed to perhaps coming back to Anfield and get a handful of games, maybe a substitute bench.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if you look at sort of what he's done this season for Bournemouth, he's definitely stepped up. Everyone was wondering, what the season would sort of hold for him last summer. Would he, will Klopp keep him around, and would he get that handful of appearances, or would he go out on loan to a Premier League side and prove himself in the Premier League? And I think he's done just that. If you look at Liverpool's goal scorers, I think Firmino's got 8 in the Premier League, and then Will's got 7 for Bournemouth. Closest to that then, I think, is Oxlade-Chamberlain with 3. So Liverpool clearly could do with those goals when you think about him as a player. They're not getting them from that. They're getting them sporadically from the midfield and, obviously from the defence and stuff. But he's definitely adding something there, And I think when you look at the goals he has scored as well, they haven't just been, sort of bit part goals. They've been against Man City. He scored a brace against Spurs. Obviously, they lost both of them games, which has sort of been the telltale sign for Bournemouth this season. But, he's going to be a crucial player for them, and I bet you're delighted with the news today. He scored against Saints as well, which is obviously Southampton, obviously a big game for them. It's a derby, isn't it, down there on the south coast? So, he seems to be like he is a big game player, and now you're kind of wondering, what does the future hold for them? I put out a few things on Facebook and Twitter today, just asking our followers, keep or sell, and everyone is kind of divided. I think more people want to keep him than not, but it's like a 55-45 split. So, it is very interesting. He's a funny age as well, 23. He's not young anymore, and he's not yet old. So this is, it's going to be really interesting to see what does happen in the coming months.
I suppose add to all of that, Doyle, as well, is the fact that 23, having been out on loan at the likes of Crewe, Hull, Derby and now Bournemouth, especially the last sort of 2.5 years now, he's been pretty much based away from Anfield. People, having heard a lot about him from coming through the youth ranks, all of a sudden have had to watch him away from the club. But I suppose there's a lot of, as Caoimhe was saying, intrigue as whether he can come back in the summer at the end of the season and perhaps remain a Liverpool player full-time going forward. Yeah,
there's been a lot of intrigue, but I don't think there's any chance he'll ever play for Liverpool, to be honest. Just want to end that one there. I think it's been 3.5 years since he played for Liverpool, which was one substitute appearance at Plymouth in the FA Cup, I think I'm right in saying. It was there for that one. And even then, it was kind of what opportunities is he going to get? And as you mentioned, he's been on loan quite a few times since then. The thing about him is he scored goals wherever he's gone. He scored goals in the the under-18s, the under-23s, scored them in the Championship, scored them in the Premier League, scored some at international level, I believe, as well. So he gets goals, but it's whether or not he's step up, or certainly not supposed to step up from, can't say step up from Mane and Salah and Firmino, but more an improvements on the options that Liverpool have already got in that. And don't forget that Liverpool, since Wilson's been away, Curtis Jones has come through. And I think while Curtis Jones has been playing, when he's played for the first team, he's played a lot, in terms of he's been central midfield. I think he could do a job on the left. That's where he's played for the under-23s. That's where he played in the youth league this season. So I'd be surprised if Wilson comes back and ends up playing games. But the only caveat for all of that is the transfer window, in the sense nobody really knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows whether or not Bournemouth, whether they want to sign him, will be able to afford whatever Liverpool asks for. Maybe Liverpool won't get the fee that they perhaps could have wanted. And then it comes to a point where they go, well, it's actually better to keep him as an option than it is to sell him for a fee that we know he's worth an awful lot more than that. So that's possibly the only thing that could save him. And, Jurgen Klopp, he is a fan of him, and he'll always talk of his players that go out on loan. I mean, there's about, I think there's 9 or 10 overall all this season. So it's not just about Wilson in terms of impressing away from Anfield and away from Melwood, but you forget that it has been so long since he's actually played that solitary game for the first team. And yeah, he did make, a little bit of an impact during the summer last year. But again, that was because the likes of Mane wasn't there. Salah wasn't there for most of it. Firmino wasn't there for most of it. So it was the same with him and Ryan Kent. And Ryan Kent obviously went on. He's done very well at Rangers. And I suspect, and I think Ryan Kent played one game for Liverpool as well. I think it was in the FA Cup about 4 years ago. So there's a bit of a parallel to be made there. I think Wilson, I quite like him. I've obviously seen him playing for years, but I'd be amazed if he ever plays for Liverpool.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, to be honest, you have to definitely consider Curtis Jones, because the way he stepped up this season in that sort of role probably shuts the door for Wilson more or less. And then you've got to think, Wilson's been away, Liverpool bought in Minamino. They're going to want to bring him through. They've still got Origi. There's still obviously hopes around him, see what he does. He wants to fight for his place. And then if you drop slightly further back in that attacking role, you've got Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita, who they still obviously hope for, pay £15 for. There's just, in the position that Wilson plays, there's just such an abundance of options and so many players around. And obviously with the AFCON probably maybe not going ahead, you just can't really see where he's going to get game time for Liverpool.
Caoimhe, is he then perhaps somewhat of a victim of circumstance and situation? Because since going out on loan to Hull, I think that was January 2018, of course, Liverpool have reached 2 Champions League finals without him. That was during Mohamed Salah's breakout year, of course, at Liverpool as well. That now you're looking at it, and as Doyle referred to, you can't really see where his face fits in that Liverpool forward line or in basically the makeup of Jurgen Klopp's side.
And that's why he's been loaned out so much. I think there hasn't been a space for him, has there? And there hasn't almost even been a sort of space for him on the bench. So, what better way to get a player up to professional level and experience across the Championship, and then making the step up to the Premier League, than to loan them out. So them loans have been probably crucial in his career, and have been formative for him. He stood out and had some incredible. I was thinking earlier, he's probably one of the most standout Liverpool loanees ever. That Liverpool have ever loaned out. The amount of headlines he's written, from Derby, that goal against Man United, and giving it the high five. Them standout moments. I don't think Liverpool fans have buzzed off a player as much who's been on loan. He's definitely sent shockwaves in terms of that. But you just kind of look and you just don't know if there's a space for it. Similar to Marco Grujic and players like that. You feel Liverpool are almost holding on to these players because Klopp obviously does think there's something there. But, it's such a big decision to make, isn't it? Whether you let these players go and then, they become something that you miss out on then. I think Harry Wilson will very much be one of them players if he can keep up in what he's doing, but obviously I feel like maybe Bournemouth is level, and then can he continue to sort of grow at a club of that sort of stature, and then maybe come back and get his move to a club of Liverpool size. It is so hard, academy are producing so many talented young players, and I think the arrival of Harvey Elliott and, as the lads mentioned, Curtis Jones, these are players that are really, really exciting. Jurgen Klopp and his back half at the minute, and Harry Wilson is at that age, as we've mentioned, that he just seems to be getting pushed out ever so slightly, and that's just the way of the world. He's still got a marvellous career ahead of him. He's I think he was made Wales Day youngest ever player. The player to do that before was Gareth Bale. So he's definitely special for Wales, and I think he can be special for another club, but it doesn't seem like that club might be Liverpool. But I'm sure he'll hold out hope, and he'd give us all if Jurgen Klopp did say, let's give it a year, let's give it a season, because you don't know what's going. Like as Ian mentioned, obviously sort of financial uncertainty at the minute. But if Shaqiri, for example, of other players to leave, is then that not a space for him if Liverpool are wanting to go out into the market and buy someone? I feel like it would be it wouldn't be unjust, would it, to give him a go?
It'll probably come to a few factors in the summer, won't it? As Doyle said there, whether Liverpool are going to get the price they wanted, and actually it might just be better to keep him. You got to think, obviously, Harvey Elliott has got 6 or 7 years on Harry Wilson of development, so see that factor play in. But then will it come down to if they can get X amount for him, will that go to somebody else they want to bring in? There's loads of things that are the state of play, but I wouldn't be surprised given the circumstances, and then Liverpool probably not going and spending mega this summer. That if he stayed for a year and see. But then again, that might depend if he's happy to play a bit part, to fill in the cups and try and make an impact elsewhere and try and force his way into the first team. But yeah, it's a funny decision for him, really.
If you Harry Wilson, if you not want to go back to Liverpool and then never play, would you? Because you've just played an entire season in the Premier League. And if Bournemouth go down, which there's every chance that they might, I would imagine there'd be 3, 4, 5 Premier League clubs who'd be saying to the very least, do you mind if we take him on loan for a season? And then possibly with a view to paying a fee 12 months down the line, like something that Southampton did with Danny Ings. So that's possible. So I actually just genuinely think it does come down to what he wants. Because he signed the contract, didn't he, last season, which the club, not just Liverpool, but a number of clubs do now when they loan out the players, they sign a contract so they're long enough for them to just still stick around or get a fee from them if they do enough. I think Liverpool have done that quite a few times, haven't they? Did that with Kent, didn't they? Did it with Grujic as well. Karius as well was the notable one. I think he's still got another couple of years left on his Liverpool deal. I don't think they expected him to be coming back, to be honest. But going back to Wilson, I think it'll come down to him. I think it depends on what he wants. Or if somebody just comes in with a ridiculous bid for him, which is, it could still happen.
Now, I suppose a couple of his Derby only teammates from last year, Fikayo Tomori and Mason Mount, have done quite well with Chelsea at the top end of the league. So even a side maybe higher up the league than Bournemouth may well take a punt. Well, that's one player who's come through the youth system that Liverpool could end up making some on. And, well, the Boffins, shall we call them, Billy, at the International Centre for Football Studies, you've been ploughing through this report and looking into the most valuable players in the planet that they've listed off. And number 4 on that list is one of Liverpool's very own that's come out of the academy at Kirby, and that, of course, being Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah, I'm glad we've used the word boffins there. Boffins is a word. It's one of those words that we only ever write. We never say it. Pragmatic as well is another one. And if there's ever a car crash, it's a prank. So these are only journalism words. You would never hear them anywhere else. Anyway, going back to the question.
And if 7 goals are scored in the game, of course, it's a 7-goal thriller. But...
It is, yeah. And teams always share a certain amount of goals. It's great, eh? Anyway, not that everybody had to do our job. But going back to Trent. Yeah, I mean, it's funny with these things always, cause a little bit of consternation amongst people because they just automatically think, oh, you're saying that person's better than this person, or because I think Messi's worth 100 million, and I'm pretty sure that everyone in the world, no matter how good Trent is, I think Messi might be slightly better at football than Trent Alexander-Arnold, certainly at the moment. But Messi's 33, is he, or some 32, and he's in the last year of his contract, whereas Trent's obviously very young, 21, and he's got loads of years left on his contract, so it would cost that amount of money to prize him away from the club, I think, is the question. So there was only Kylian Mbappe and Sancho, Raheem Sterling ahead of him. 2 English players. So it shows you that England are in good, in good nick. I think Liverpool overall, I think was it 4 players in the top 7? I can't remember now. Was it 4 or 3? I think it was 3.
Yeah,
3. Well, the answer was Sadio, Mane, and Mohamed Salah. Well, and are we going to mention the point about the midfielders now? Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, we can. By all means.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Alisson Becker's the second most valuable goalkeeper. Obviously, Trent's the most valuable defender, and you've got Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson next to him as well. And you've got, as we said, Salah and Mane and Firmino's up there as well in the forwards. But there's not a single Liverpool midfielder in the entire list of the top 20 or 30 most valuable players, midfielders in Europe. I know part of that might be because, you look at Wijnaldum's got a year left on his contract and, Hen's coming up to 30 years of age and Milner's old and there's all this, that and the other with the others. I'm surprised Fabinho's not there, to be honest. I thought he might have been there when I think they did it last year and he certainly was. So I don't know whether that's just an example of Liverpool's midfield being underappreciated in terms of, to be fair, it is an example of Liverpool's midfield being underappreciated, which when you consider that of all the parts of the team that needs to be working well for Liverpool, for Jurgen Klopp to actually be doing it, it's the midfield. And that, ironically, is the one area where he changes all the players all the time. Very rarely changes the back 4, hardly ever changes the front 3. But the midfield is the one that he's always mixing and matching. That's why you have Milner's playing certain games, Henderson, Wijnaldum plays most of them. Fabinho's the caters in and out. Oxlade-Chamberlain gets his game. Lallana's had 1 or 2. And Shaqiri, whenever he's fit, he's played a little bit as well. So they all get an opportunity. But it's almost like to the detriment of their own brand, for want of a better word, but for the good of the team. And ultimately, that's what Jurgen Klopp wants from midfielders.
Yeah, certainly. I know this year, obviously, Jordan Henderson has got a lot of praise, I suppose, in the media as much as anywhere, Connor, for being the captain, the favourite for the PFA Player of the Year award. But as Doyle says, this report, I suppose, just does underline that actually that role is some of a task in the Liverpool midfield. Glorious as it is playing for the side, 25 points clear at the top of the Premier League, someone's got to sort of do the hard yards.
Yeah, certainly so. It's the classic thing we always talk about, isn't it? Where you go and watch Liverpool play and you see Wijnaldum, I think he started every Premier League game this year.
There's one that he's played, yeah. Yeah,
and then you have Henderson, obviously, we're discussing in so much detail about how much he worked for the team, how good he is for the team. And you've obviously got Fabinho, who is unbelievably good before his injury. But none of these players really, before Liverpool started really winning things and progressing to finals, did other people go, oh, wow, maybe they really are something. It was when you win and watch Liverpool every week, you thought they are the ones, integral part of the team, working front and back and all over the pitch. So it's kind of that role where it's probably one of the most, if not the most important area of the pitch. But because it's not quite a glamorous role, you're scoring goals or making last-ditch block, but you're just working for everybody else, then it's difficult for other people to maybe appreciate just quite how good they are.
Yeah, and Kiva, we've spoken throughout the course of the season on the podcast about a number of the midfield players said there about Henderson being the captain. We've spoken about Fabinho early part of the season, the form he showed, Oxlade-Chamberlain coming in, scoring goals. even Adam Lallana when he got into the side, and criticism that's been navigated. But Jorginho Wijnaldum used to be the one guy that, even through all of this, continues to sort of go under the radar. Yet if you speak to people who go to Anfield and watch Liverpool on a regular basis, he's quite often the guy who catches the eye and he makes things happen.
Yeah, and I think the reason why it catches the eye if you watch him is because of his ability to keep hold of the ball when there's about 15 men around him. That's so enjoyable to watch. He just seems to have little magnets on his feet, doesn't he? And seems to, when he pops up in the field with the ball, and always seems to, no matter what, keep hold of it and get it moving forward. And I think a lot of the time Liverpool's midfield are looked. I think Klopp's been in the past. Wijnaldum, Henderson, and what a job they do. And obviously Henderson's starting to get the praise I think he's deserved for a long time now. But then even so, there's people saying he doesn't deserve to be the player of the year and stuff. So, I think there's a long way to go in terms of that. I think it's quite shocking how much Liverpool's midfield are underrated if you look in terms of past Champions League winners, past Premier League winners. There's always been them midfielders that have shone and been, awarded things. You look at Modric, players like that. Barcelona's midfield was very much, Messi's the best player, but Barcelona's midfield for them years were praised so much. And I think Liverpool quite have that the same. And I think it is, because obviously the fullbacks are immense. They've got the world's best goalkeeper, the world's best centre-half, the world's second best centre-half, whether it be Gomez or Matip. And that scintillating front three. So, a lot of the times in the engine room, them lads are getting forgotten. But, I think Liverpool fans very much so know that, what an important job these players do week in, week out for Liverpool. But obviously, you do think that they are more often than not overlooked. And this hasn't been something that's just, happening now. It's been happening the past couple of seasons. They've just been sort of, people would rather use a City midfielder, or does it come because you can't choose the whole Liverpool 11? So it's like, who can we leave out? And maybe it would be the midfield because it is so fluid and, not everyone's playing every game. Klopp mixes it up. So it is interesting, but they definitely are underrated by you perceive a lot of people.
Whatever you do, don't go up to Jurgen Klopp and say that Gini Wijnaldum's going under the radar, because I asked him a question once saying, there are some people that say he's under the radar, and he basically went, who are these people? Show me these people. Who are these people? He's not under my radar, etc., etc. He got quite, not angry, but he got a bit animated about it all. So I think that tells you all you need to know about what Jurgen Klopp thinks about Gini Wijnaldum.
And on Wijnaldum, like you said before, he's played all but one of the Premier League games this season. He's a real trusted player for Jurgen Klopp. Yet when you think of Gini Wijnaldum, the immediate that springs to course is Barcelona. Yet this season he's been there every step of the way that Liverpool have gone 25 points clear at the top of the league. And I think really the standout moment I can think of him is when Dean Henderson fumbled his shot through hands way at Bramall Lane.
He's been slightly better than that, to be fair. Come on.
No, I mean, he's brilliant.
I know what you mean.
Standout moment.
The thing about Wijnaldum is that I think people forget when he first started, for at least 18 months, he used to have what to call, certainly the ones who went to the game, called ghost mode, where if he played away from home, he'd just disappear. There'd be some games where he literally it was almost as if he was doing nothing. And I think it's taken, whether he actually wasn't making the impact that he did or supposed to be, but it's perhaps taken people that long to realise what he does. And they're the people who go to the game every week and watch him, or regularly anyway. So people who don't watch Liverpool regularly might look at his, where are his assists, where are his goals, where are his strong tackles, what does he do? But if you actually watch him properly, he's got such a great engine. As Kiva said, he just loves, holding everybody off. And he's able to play to instruction, which is something that perhaps a lot of midfielders do, because they have to, because then that allows the likes of Trent to bomb on, Robertson to bomb on, and the front three to just run around and do the thing that they do. Because don't forget, half the time they've got Firmino's popping down, popping back into midfield, so they'd be like, if it was anyone else, you'd be like, what are you doing here? Get up front. But they've been conditioned to know where he's going to be and what he's going to be doing. And as Connor said, they're putting themselves, putting the team first as opposed to their own individual glory. They know they're going to get it from winning the Champions League, the Super Cup, the Club World Cup, and it will be the Premier League.
Yeah, and Wijnaldum, a guy who scored maybe one of the most important goals for Liverpool, that goal against Middlesbrough on the final of the season in 2017 that opened the floodgates. And of course, Liverpool have gone on ever since then. But Connor, on Friday, we had a quite lively podcast talking about, of course, a certain Mr. Werner. I didn't want to his name up, but there we go.
I've done that. You promised we were going to.
No, I promised, but I had to.
You can't help yourself, can you? You can't help yourself. Yeah.
I couldn't help myself at all. But everybody gets obsessed on wanting to see a new forward come through the door. People talk about the front three need re-energising, someone else needs bringing in. But when you look at the profile of the midfield players at Liverpool, they're actually older than those higher up the pitch. And the way we've spoke there about the underrated job and the work the midfield get through, it's going to be an almighty task for Jurgen Klopp to have to replace a few of these at once.
Yeah, certainly. So I think it's always the case that these players grab the headlines, don't they? When Werner's scoring goals, they're highlight reel players. You know, they have so many standout moments in different games, and then the players that fans really want to see play for your club. And it's a bit of a funny thing, the whole Werner clamour, because I know we obviously weren't going to massively speak about him. You know, Liverpool's front three, Liverpool's backup choices are of a world-class standard pretty much. And then you look away from that, Liverpool desperately need a backup left back. You're going to desperately need a couple of players to fill in that midfield in the next year or so, with Illness 34, Henderson 30. You know, they're not going to last forever doing the job they do, doing the amount of running they do, the amount of work they do in the games. But there just doesn't seem to quite be this rhetoric that we need these players. It's just only the forwards. But it's an interesting one how that seems to get overlooked as well.
Yeah, and obviously it's the much anticipation as to the breakthrough that Curtis Jones could perhaps have next season, but Lallana, of course, is going. These players are going to be getting a year older, as Connor said, looking at some of the ages. Henderson soon to turn 30, Wijnaldum himself is 29 and Milner's 34. There may well be a need for Liverpool to, in this transfer window, whatever it does, but actually look at that midfield as more of a pressing issue.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think next season will be very much, it seems like it'll be Curtis Jones' sort of year to sort of step up and make sure Liverpool don't need to go into the market for a player like him, because he can be that player. I think that it's going to be a big year for him, a big couple of years, if not. And I think obviously with Milner, you know, that is the one sort of sadness to it, because you feel, you know, he's probably entering the last couple of years of his career, but who knows, he might go on forever. He doesn't seem like he's ever going to stop, does he? So hopefully, you know, he's still beating the lads at the different fitness tests and stuff. So who says, you know, he's looked after his body, in good shape? Who says he can't go on for 3-4 more seasons? Like, you wouldn't put it, if you were going to put it past someone, it would definitely be Milner, who's capable to pull something like that. But you know, it is a worry then of getting in, because that's going to be a massive job replacing him. He's been so versatile. You know, we could talk all day how important he's been to Liverpool, and you know, I definitely want to see him on that backroom staff. Get him coached straight away. Don't let him leave the club. Like, his knowledge and experience is just, you know, I think you definitely need to keep him on. Henderson, you know, if Milner's still, I'd still say Milner's the top of his game now. He's played better for us than anyone else. He's played more times for us. I think maybe scored more goals, obviously a lot of penalties. But, you know, Henderson's still got them 4 years to be that player. You know, obviously, you know, he'll start to tire as he gets a little older, as we all do. But I think there's that sort of one maybe with Wijnaldum's contract sort of hanging over your head a little bit, as though, you know, is he looking to move on maybe, or, you know, is he happy to stick around? And getting him signed up is definitely going to be an important for Liverpool going forward. And then, you know, you would like to think what this whole, you know, financial sort of certainty holds for Liverpool does give them young players an opportunity to, you know, step up to the plate. And I think, you know, a lot of Liverpool fans would welcome that. There's a lot of people just like sign players, but, you know, we know ourselves it's not as easy as that, as you've seen with the TW. Won't mention them anymore because
he must not be named.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even really, obviously, I haven't been on a lot of podcasts, but I haven't really had me say on Werner, and I just think I'm already over it. Like, don't worry about it. Liverpool are about to win the Premier League. Don't worry about it. You know, I think this squad, the one thing about it is, I think we've still got this season. Liverpool are gonna, hopefully go and win the Premier League next season and challenge on all fronts. I'm not worried about next season at all. I think this team can keep going. They've shown they've done that last year, this year, and I think they can take it into the next season. I think then next summer they'll start to be, worrying about little bits and bobs of players like Milner maybe leaving and stuff like that. I think we've got more worries next summer than we have this summer. So let's just bask in it.
Don't forget the others you mentioned. They didn't say Fabinho, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and Keita.
Exactly.
They're all 25, 26, 24. Or I think they are off the top of my head. They're certainly not the age that Henderson and Wijnaldum and Milner are. So that's an entire midfield by itself that could play instead of those. I'm not advocating that they do. In fact, I think actually once wrote they should never play together again after they played a away from home. So they don't do that. But then you'd also look at it. Curtis Jones is coming through, and to a lesser extent, looking further down the line, they've got a lot of faith in Leighton Clarkson. So there are these players that can come in. As Kiva said, I think it's not this summer, next summer, and perhaps that's what's in Klopp and FSG's thinking. We can get another year out of nearly all these, and then we've got to start doing a little bit of long-term planning. And they'll have targets, they'll have players that they want to sign. They'll put a bit of faith in youth, and there will be players who will want to move on. So we'll just have to wait and see. I wouldn't, without wishing to talk too much, about transfers. Unless Liverpool get a bit of money in for some of these players like Wilson that we mentioned, I would be surprised if they bought anyone major. But you can't rule it out because, what was it, 3 months ago? If you'd have said, so we're all going to be sat in our houses doing these podcasts, you'd have said, you are. And anyway, in 3 months' time, the transfer window will be open and we don't know what will be happening then. So maybe the actual financial impact of what's been happening, it'll have perhaps lessened. Clubs will have a better idea of what's happened. They might know when fans might be allowed back in the stadium. So it could all have be changed. And you might have a transfer window which very much towards the end, whenever that is, we're led to believe it could be the end of September or the start of October, that suddenly clubs start buying players because they realise they can afford them.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly have to wait and see, Keeper. I think you made plenty of sense, more than most of us have on Timo Werner, saying that you're already over it immediately as much as it's finished. Yeah, that one is done. You won't hear much more from us. I have to say, Doyle, from now on, I do promise.
Okay, yeah, all right, okay, all right.
That is it. Before we go on this pod, let's talk about football returning. As I said at the top, this is the final full week that we've got to get through, Connor, without any football. Of course, then Liverpool will be returning the Merseyside derby. Still yet to know exactly where it's going to get played, but the game against Palace is going to be the first one back at Anfield. Over the weekend, Bundesliga trialled piping in stadium effects into the grounds and things. And we'll just have a quick chat before we go about what maybe Liverpool could do at Anfield to spice things up and make it feel as though we're all still able to be there.
Yeah, so I know there's been a bit of chat about whether or not to play You'll Never Walk Alone. I think they should absolutely do it over the speakers. It's Liverpool's anthem. The players will be so used to hearing it. The opposition will be so used to fearing it. I really enjoyed the noise in the Bundesliga. I've enjoyed the goal music. I think it's just added a little bit of drama to the football what the crowd would normally add. So I'm all for everything, really. Just as much atmosphere inside the stadium as possible, because obviously everyone's going to be buzzing at home in front of the television.
Don't you take on that?
Sorry, right. I didn't see the Bundesliga this weekend. Did they actually pipe the sound into the stadium as opposed to on top of the commentary?
On top of the commentary. I think Sky Sports have similar plans.
Yeah, I read that Sky going to use EA, FIFA basically by EA Sports to use all their chants. So anybody who's played FIFA, you'll know exactly what the crowd's going to be like. So
is the commentary going to be the same lines that just go out?
If you do not buy a ticket, you will not win the raffle.
Oh dear. Anyway, that's a good idea for us to write something on that, actually. But yeah. And I read something, there was something knocking around where there's been some, not so much directive, but some suggestion from the Premier League to clubs to basically cover the first few rows of the stands, basically the seats that are on show for television. And whether or not that means Liverpool will get, Spirit Shankly or some fans groups in to put banners down, or I think in Denmark they put some big screens up where they have people watching the game on Zoom. A bit weird, if you ask me. I can't really see that happening. It might be going up, players scoring, celebrating in front of all these people on the screen. That would be a little bit odd.
They've had cardboard cutouts with fans.
Yeah, the cardboard cutouts is quite good. I mean, saying that they've done that with the rugby league in Australia. They were the first to use the crowd noises on top of the commentary, and they had the cardboard cutouts. And Dominic Cummings was there for one of the games, which was nice to see. You know, a little bit further than a half
Gets
hour.
About, doesn't he?
Exactly. I'm going to say a bit further than 30 minutes to check his eyes. Anyway, so it will be interesting to see what Liverpool do, because I'd imagine that they will seriously get some of the fans involved. We'll see some of the more familiar banners, shall we say, that we see around the ground in the Kop. We'll be seeing them drive around. So, let's be honest, it's not going to be the same as when fans are there. We know this. We've seen now for a couple of weeks what it's like in Germany and with other sports. It's not quite the same, but once the game starts, and anything that helps try and make the environment or the atmosphere or the whole experience a little bit more normal, then I'm all for it. Sorry?
Less sterile.
That's the word I was looking for, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm for.
Like your comment on Dominic Cummings as well, who said we couldn't offer political satire here on Blood Red. Certainly did that. Caoimhe, yourself, banners, goal music?
I definitely get the banners on the Kop. I think for the anniversary of Hillsborough, that was very poignant, having those banners. Get them banners back up, definitely them, at the top hanging down. And then, I think I'd just drape the Kop, even if you can't see them. Just, if the club have got some ideas, thoughts, but, to get your banner in to witness probably Liverpool winning the Premier League. If you can't be there, it's not the second best thing. It's not good at all, is it? But it's a part of history to see that, and come back on those. I think it'll be important. Liverpool have got such a great fan base, and the Kop is always where everyone looks to straight away when in the build to the match and stuff. And like Connor said, Never Walk Alone definitely has to be played, without a doubt, because I think it'll be quite emotional for everyone anyway. It's sort of become the song, hasn't it, of the past few months. Different people doing renditions of it, from Marcus Mumford, Captain Tom. I think everyone's had a go of it now, haven't they? So I might have to have a little try myself. Maybe we'll ask followers to send in their renditions or something. I have got a good singing voice, so you'd be shaking your head.
Well, I will take your word for it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so definitely do them. I'm not really keen on the fake noise, but if it improves it, then yeah, because watching the Bundesliga and just just feeling like this is dull. It just doesn't feel like, I think you didn't realise until all this how important fans were in terms of even watching the match from home. Being there is a different thing, but watching it from home, it definitely, I think the numbers of Bundesliga sides that have won from home has been quite few, hasn't it? Won at home. So there's no home advantage anymore. And, we know how important fans are for, and on the playbacks and, singing them on as well when they're in a spot of trouble. So definitely, maybe if that can help, but it's just dull, isn't it, really? It's not where we want to be at. But yeah, I guess we'll Never Walk Alone. So definitely that's number one, and get the banners on. And then I'm ran out of ideas because, yeah, I'm not the ideas woman today.
How many times in the past have you watched the game, you flick the game on television, it's got halfway through, and there's been loads of empty seats, and the one thing you don't say is, what's the score, or what's going on? You just go, where is everybody? Yeah. That's what you say, because empty seats look terrible on television, and I think we're kind of getting used to that fact now. People didn't realise it already. So I'm intrigued to see what Liverpool, not just Liverpool, but all of them do. Because I know some of the German clubs have put some banners, and they've done, as Connor said, they've had the cardboard cutouts of people. So I think it'd be, I'm not excited, but I'm intrigued, because there's an opportunity here for Liverpool to do something special. Because if they do end up winning the league at Anfield, it could be a very special moment and a very strange and unique one, which they could capitalise on in some way.
I remember I went to a Coldplay gig. Don't judge me, people. Coldplay great.
Were you singing?
At the Etihad, actually, Man City's ground, of course. It was 2012 or something. And they had wristbands and lights up. So I don't know if you're a season ticket holder, whether Liverpool, I know it's funds and things like that, but that would be a good idea in terms of getting a wristband, there's a light on your teeth, and then you've got it at home, because they just seem to wear but obviously it's only a couple of weeks, and I should probably patent this before someone does it.
I think whatever the case, as Doyle said there, Liverpool have an opportunity to literally make history. This is probably never going to happen again. I've never seen it before. Could do something so special that it just goes down as the best or one of the best pieces of history ever made, despite the circumstances.
Yeah, so that wraps it up for us here on Monday's edition of the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. If you're watching on YouTube, if you could like, rate, comment in the comment section, and wherever you get your audio on demand, leave us a rating and review. That always more that appreciated. But from myself and the guys here on the podcast, that's all we've got for this edition. Thanks for your time and your company. Until next time, bye for now.